Becky Christian and Brittany McDaniel, and we're just going to do a short leadership segment on how to lead people. And in the beginning days of the group home, when I first started supervising people, I just really was so naive in thinking that you hire people, you boss people, and they do what you say. But lots of struggles, lots of feeling sorry for them, lots of enabling them, and sometimes just being mad and too harsh on them. Okay, so for me, what I found in the scripture was the verse Micah 6:8. Do right, love mercy, and walk humbly. And I went, that's what I needed. It's just a guideline that I would set before the people, that if they did right, if they loved to care, and they were teachable, they could stay. And honestly, I understood it was for me too, that if I was ever going to survive, if I was ever going to thrive, I had to learn this for myself. So just recently, I found this book, Think Like a Horse, and it is a horse whisperer who brings organizations administration to his ranch, and he works with horses in front of them, and he shows them that if you think like a horse in terms of meeting them where they are, instead of you presenting all that you are, that if you humble yourself, if you work on teaching them to do right, and you genuinely care, the horse knows. So I'm going to start with the do right part. And he's got a chapter in here. If he's turning, he's learning. And what he's saying, I'm going to read just a short segment. When a horse makes a mistake or fails a test because he's afraid or unsure, I don't punish him for the mistake. If I did, he'd associate that mistake with the punishment and be less likely to try again. The last thing I want for him is to freeze up. I've seen some of the best horses and the best people in my life demonstrate the willingness to keep turning and learning. They know they don't have to get it right on the first try. So where he's coming from is if they're turning, they're learning. If that willingness is there, if that effort is there, if that energy is still there, then you got to meet them where they are and help them on the way. So all of us have gifts, strengths, and all of us have weaknesses. So trying to cram something down somebody's throat when they are weak in that area only makes them feel like a failure and makes it feel like it's impossible to do right. But what he's saying, if they're turning, they're learning, that they're still moving and trying, then you hook arms with them. You join with them and help them. So in my beginning days, learning how not to enable, fix it, and do it for them, but to meet them where they are, and if they were turning, then they were learning. If they were moving, then there was progress. So I was just going to ask you girls, in this beginning days of supervision and your learning curve right off the bat, Brittany, you said there was something in this book that just helped you.
So on page 242, he says, do the right thing and it will work out. And that's how I kind of approached now with my staff, is as long as you're doing right, even if you make a mistake, but your goal is to do right, then it's going to work out. And we can tweak and we can change. And when I first started as a supervisor, I'm a young supervisor, and I had no experience. So I just took off the hands-off approach. I got a good team. They know what they're doing. But I realized that didn't work. Not that they didn't know what they were doing, but I needed to be in with them. And hey, they're struggling here, because I didn't know when they were struggling. And so I thought, okay, they're doing great. They're not saying anything, so hands off. But I have to get in the deep with them.
Right.
And as long as we're all doing right, then our team is going to be successful.
Yes. Mm-hmm. What happened with you, Becky?
Well, when I first became a supervisor, it was with the state of Missouri, with the Department of Mental Health. And under state rules and regulations, you have to conform because everything is regulated.
Yes.
And everything is standardized across the board. So there isn't an allowance for personality and how a person works and their
Right.
pace.
Right.
So it was a implementation of rules. You have to do this, and you have to do it this way, and you have to do it because this is what the CSR says. This, so
All
it's
that.
very regimented. When I came here to this organization, you taught me how to learn the person and how to work side by side with the person, and which he calls is learning how to feel.
Yeah.
And he references that in learning the horse and learning how that horse feels, because we have to know how the person learns and what pace they move in order to treat people as individuals.
Yes.
And that has been really, really a challenge for me because I want things done right now. And not everybody moves at my pace.
Right.
Right.
So I have to know how a person moves and give them the time to be able to complete something
Yes.
and yet hold them accountable.
That's right.
And that's hard.
It is.
It's a hard balance, it's a hard mix to know the person, know what they may be going through at that time, personally,
Right.
and know how to hold them accountable, yet not put so much pressure on them that they just crash.
Right.
So that has been my learning experience for the past probably 20 years, and
Yes.
coming
And I've
along.
dealt with that too because, as you know, I talk fast, so I do everything fast.
Mhm.
And I had that expectation of my team. Well, I can get it done in this amount of time. What are you doing?
Right.
What are you doing with your time?
Right.
But then once I got in with them and learned their personalities, it's so
That's right.
true. It's learning the people,
Mhm.
and they're not failing because they take a day longer than I would.
Right.
You know, really, and he talks about this fear of failure in the book, but most people, not 100%, but the majority of people, they do want to do right.
Right.
But when they start to feel this pressure or like this fear of failing at it, they'll either freeze up and dig in,
Right.
some run away, some just get mad. They don't know what to do with their feelings of insecurity or their feelings of not being able to perform. And so they just, they don't. And it looks like that they're not trying to do right, but really they've got this whole inner thing going on because they're scared.
Mhm.
Right.
And so, knowing your people, not just the people we supervise, knowing the people we support. And I would say that's always a learning curve. That's always going to be learning. Because people are not just simple. People are complex. It's not black and white.
Right.
There's always a backstory.
Right.
There's circumstances going on, and you have to give them that grace in the midst of that. And then you also have to learn, nope, got to gear up and get on it. So I hope this helps you. We've got 2 more coming. So thanks for joining us, and see you next segment.